Hey guys, this is me, Travis, here with our Dragfall Post-GBT14 Luard deck profile. Take it away, man.
Alright, I totally own this deck, by the way.
Yeah, we didn't steal his deck.
For the starter, we play Vicaru, whatever the fuck his name is.
What does that do?
So he's really good. He's like, this is like the first good starter Luard like ever had. You had to play a fucking grade 3 searcher literally forever. So what he does is, when you sack him, if you're at Ritual 3, you put him in the soul to countercharge 1. It's really simple, but it's really good because the soul is super important in this deck.
Yeah.
And the countercharge is also super important, so getting them both in one for basically... you can basically turn any retire into a countercharge 1, soul charge 1, which is pretty good.
Yeah, he's got a cool hat.
Well, everyone's deck got a fucking cool hat.
Yeah, that's fair. They're all little wizard dudes.
So, probably one of the best stride break cards ever to exist.
Yeah, it's like make Luard better.
Like this card, this card is ridiculous. So, So his first skill is you can pay for stride by counterblasting 4 and putting a normal unit at the bottom of your deck. But the cost is reduced by... the counterblast cost is reduced by 1 for every go winner drop zone. So, as opposed to the old Luard, who required 3, it can be... you can do it. You can pay the excess amount in counterblast. Well, based on the deficit of great ones you have. But...
and then you just, like, give loads of new cards in the deck now that just, like, set up the drop zone super fast.
The only...
like, you basically just turbo it.
Yeah, the only downside is... it only puts back 1 unit, which is kind of unfortunate compared to the old Luard, which reloading your deck with all your important cards is really good. But this dude can Ultima Strike too, which is that's pretty awesome. Even though there's no Ultima in this deck right now, because I totally didn't steal his deck. They didn't have Ultima.
His Peyton's cheap.
But it's alright. I'm better than him, so it doesn't matter. So his other skill is when you stride on top of him, you counterblast 1 and search your deck for a grade 1 or less card and call it. And if it has Ritual, you retire your unit in the same column as the unit that you called, which is amazing. It's a +2. You get anything. You can get Belial Owl. You can get almost any grade... you probably will call almost any grade 1 in this deck because they're all super fucking good. And, I mean, you get free control every turn. The column thing doesn't even really matter. It's basically retire any rear guard. It's so good. And as a supplement to that, we play 2 of the old Luard. You don't want to ride him ever, but he's there because you really just want extra. You don't want the best thing about this deck is that you can play a low grade 3 count, but personally, I'd be pretty scared playing only 4 grade 3s in the deck. So playing 8's fine. Another good option is this guy. He's really strong because he's not GB based. He's just Ritual 1 when you call him. Search deck for any grade 1 or less and call it, and I mean that's it. It's super
really
good.
Wow.
Yeah, and you can call another not GB restricted card in this deck is this card, and we'll get to it later. But you could call her and draw. It's just literally call a grade 3, call this, and then draw a card. It's really really good. But
It's just a matter of like safety and consistency.
yeah, and you know it gives you more targets with Abyssal Owl to find him. Yeah, because you really just don't want to get greed stuck in this deck.
Yeah, especially with the new rules coming out. You definitely don't want to be great stuck.
For the grade 2s, the most powerful grade 2 in this deck by a long shot is Dagda. So what he does is Ritual 5, counterblast 1, and you have to retire a grade 1 and only a grade 1 for the cost. When he attacks, you search your deck. If you have Luard if you have Luard Vanguard, you search your deck for 2 grade 1s and call them to rearguard. So this is really strong on the Dragobus turns because your front row gets ridiculous amounts of power, puts an extra grade 1 on the drop zone.
It's a continuous for the front row, huh? For
yeah,
Dragobus?
yeah,
so you just get like gigantic multi-attacks.
Yeah, they're huge. Like,
That's
I
nuts.
mean, when Peyton was playing this deck against me, like he was like the second Dragobus stride was almost always death because the lanes were like 40k each, and this dude gave you an extra row to attack with. It's really strong. You just have to make sure you have the grade 1 to sack. You have to set up the field right, but that's really not an issue. Other really good grade 2 is Slap My Ass Dragon.
Ooh, we'll slap him a little bit.
So
We're gonna get,
his first skill's alright.
Slap fight.
So whenever a grade 1 is placed on rear guard, if you have a Vanguard with Ritual, it has to be a Vanguard with a Ritual ability. It's not Luard, so you can't use it with Spectral or Phantom Blast Diablo or Aura or Doom. But him and the card you call both get 3k, which is
so it's
really
only
good.
just the Grosny, the old knight you used to play, but better.
Yeah, because
now he's also Morfessa.
Yeah, even better than Morfessa, he counts in the deck. So
okay.
But the thing is you have to have a grade 4 Vanguard. So once you stride, you can call this guy from the deck. And he also counts in the drop zone. He doesn't count at the beginning of the game because you're not at grade 4 yet for this Luard.
Yeah.
But it counts towards Dragobus's power and all your ritual effects after you stride. So that's really strong.
Dang, all those people who bought like 4 SP Morfesses feel like really bad.
I bet, especially after it got reprinted too. Like,
yeah, I feel pretty bad.
it got reprinted and you don't use it. It's so bad.
That's just how it be sometimes.
And I don't remember any of these cards' names. We play Foregone. This dude's also really good because it sets up ritual early. And it's a +1. When you call it, you pitch a grade 1 and carry +1 to draw 2 cards. It's really good. There's plenty of grade 1s that you're totally fine discarding. You draw early because they have like on place effects that aren't as good and things of that sort. Or just set up for later. And I mean, it's Pot of Greed that you can activate at the beginning of the game to maybe set up a board to attack your opponent with. It's really strong.
I'm in the main.
Yeah, and like we'd said before, you don't really play Morfessa anymore in this deck because it's completely unnecessary between this and these cards are just too good not to play. So
yeah, it makes sense.
Grade 1's like the whole important part of this deck. Another thing that sets up your drop zone early is this amazing card right here. I don't remember how to say her name. Famwash or something like that.
Fwamnock?
Something like that. So this is good because you can use a turn 1. You pitch it from hand and rest a unit to draw a card. So you can ride and then pitch and rest to draw. That is really strong because it's filter and it sets up your drop zone early. And her other effect's kind of ridiculous. It's a ritual 5, but you're gonna get there eventually. And you keep putting... This is definitely the card you put back in your deck all the time, just so you can keep calling it out. It's a 14k booster with resist. But you have to have a grade 4 Vanguard, so it's only resist on your turn, which basically never matters, because it's going to be in the back row, but...
I mean, if you have to swing with one, like, I can definitely see a scenario where you might want to swing with one.
Yeah, and I mean, 2 of them together is a 28 lane. That's crazy.
That's without any additional power from Dragobus.
Yeah, it's really strong.
That's nutty. That's thick.
Probably the most infamous PG in the game is Ezreal. We all know what this card does. It's one thing you need to pay attention to because when you consider power for Dragobus, you're removing cards from your graveyard, so it's gonna be weaker potentially. But as long as you do your attacks right, and also you can fix that number with this card also when you attack. So there's plenty of things that you can set up for this. It's also good to call from the deck with Dragfall's skill. If you want to sack it and then add it back to your hand, just have searchable PG if you didn't end up seeing them soon enough. It's always a thing. And you always want to heal these out of your damage zone, never forget.
You sound like you forgot a lot.
Sometimes.
Continue, Destin.
New Swordbreaker, basically. It's slightly more restrictive, but has 1k more power. You have to have a Vanguard with the ritual ability, so you can't use it when you go for Doomed. But that's okay because you're usually going for Dragobus first. You only really resolve one of these in the game because you need the soul for Dragobus effect to do it twice. So typically you're going to have 3 soul because starter and the 2 cards you have and your soul from basically playing Vanguard.
Yeah,
so
I like playing Vanguard.
So as long you really only end up calling one of these, so really you play 2 in case you draw them. But you could technically replace this with Swordbreaker. One with Swordbreaker in case you like to go into Doomed. But this card also has Ritual, so you get the retire off of Dragfall. So I get it, you can argue either way, but this is really kind of the better option most of the time. A card that kind of lost a little bit of relevance is Abyssal Owl. You still use a lot of Counter Blast in this deck, and it's good to juggle these around to make sure you get the counter charge. But it's not nearly as potent, as crucial as it used to be because a lot of strides. Most of the time you're using one Counter Blast in a turn and a Soul Blast for Drag Abyss, so you don't really have to worry about it. But its filter effect's also really good to make sure you also have the correct Luard. And in a worst case scenario, when you have to get the Luard, you will likely pitch a grade 1 to get it. So it also helps you feed your ritual. And there's
free resource management.
Definitely. And the one niece, you never really
that?
use this. That's actually pretty good. So you only play one because you don't really want to see it. You just want to search it, and you could keep putting it back in your deck if you need to with the free stride effect. But retiring a Belial Owl to draw 2 cards is actually really strong.
Yeah.
And it does it in the battle phase. You get value out of it attacking and that. And when you combine that with the fact that it had power, so this on a weak Drag Abyss turn is gonna be 21 with an Abyssal Owl.
Yeah.
I mean a Black Owl, and I mean that's just a lot of value. It doesn't seem like a lot, but there's a lot in there. You don't really use this card that often, but when you use it, it's really strong, and it's especially good when you had like a weak early game and you have to come back.
Yeah, I mean it's just a one of like it just seems like a nice option to turbo some hand if you need.
There's actually a lot less grade 1s now in the deck than most people played back then, but that's also because between Slaptail Dragon and still putting him back, you really don't have to worry about it too much. But one thing you do have to worry about in this deck is juggling around the correct grade 1s, because you'll find yourself in a lot of situations where you burn out your grade 1s immediately because you called 3 or more on the first stride, and then you're finding yourself calling PGs out of your deck for your skills because that's all you have left, and that's no good. So
yeah, because the new Luard doesn't return as hard, but you do turbo the grade 1s a lot harder in the deck itself, so you gotta have to be careful in that regard. It's why you can get away with playing less, but why you also have to be more careful with playing less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as you're mindful. This deck kind of always took a little bit of thought, but I mean, this deck is kind of like a beat stick deck now, but you still always have to think. And that,
yeah, because like, you're kind of like managing all your resources at once, but also all the time.
Yeah. Anyway, for triggers, counter the new heal. You'll use both skills in this deck, because you burn out of both resources really fast. Sometimes you will need the extra soul or the extra counter blast, but it's just a really good thing to have in this deck, and obviously every deck that has them will play them.
Yeah.
The most infamous crit trigger to ever exist.
I'm not even gonna pick that one up.
This card is absolutely insane.
Belly all.
I don't even know. I'm gonna explain it anyway, but this card's just ridiculous.
Belly all do.
And in the turn, it goes to the bottom of the deck. If you sack it, you draw a card. It's crazy. This card is so good. Your deck never even runs out of triggers because you always put these back, because you're always shuffling with your stride skills. So you typically will get them all out, put them at the bottom, shuffle them back. So you're always hitting crits. It's not like decks like, I don't know, Regalia, where you're putting cards back in your deck, but you're never seeing triggers again after a certain point.
Yeah.
This card is just insane.
Or like Musketeers.
That is true.
Actually, they can deliberately put crits back in their deck now.
Yeah.
Continue, Destin.
But there's 8 stands in the deck, split between these. Obviously, the more infamous stand trigger, used in a lot of power combos. It's not, you don't really go for those types of things in this deck much anymore, but the extra resource that this gives is actually really strong. There's a chance you get a stuff like Belial Owl. By the way, if you don't retire Belial Owl at the end of the turn, when it dies off of this, you draw a card, which is pretty sick. You can use this to hit this card right here.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot like better things to sack into now.
Yeah, and even if you get something like a PG, that's definitely good. You can get this, which is good. You can get this to start loading up your grave, which is good. And there's just a lot of things that you can get. Just anything extra to retire is just really nice in this deck.
Yeah, really like top decking any card can you can find some value out of it in some way through your strides.
Acer is
So
not nearly as strong, but he's really just there for the Link Joker matchup. By the way, just the fear number of playing stands. Stands are actually really strong in this deck just because of how much power you get with Dragobus. And this deck has a lot more aggro than it used to, so it's really easy to push your opponent on the first stride. So having stands for the late game is really strong, especially when your crits go back in your deck, so the threat's always there.
Yeah. So you're not really like worried about that at all. There's always basically going to be 4 crits in your deck.
And lastly, there's this card. Not as strong as these, but since all the cards are searchable, a little diversity doesn't hurt. And since these go back to the deck, this is kind of just... It's basically kind of like an Bilal. It's only on the turn it's called, and when you sack it, you look at the top 2, put one in your hand and one in the drop zone. Putting in the drop zone is kind of nice if it's a grade 1, but for the most part, this is just kind of like a break-even card, kind of like Bilal. It's just not as... if you really want to think about it, it's kind of like playing 6 Bilals, if anything.
Yeah.
Because having that much draw power in a turn can be really helpful.
Yeah, I can see it. Again, it's like, you might as well, because like you have the option of just calling it whenever you want.
Yeah, and it's another stand to play, so... You know, since these go back to the deck, you may as well have a little diversity in the lineup. But that's the main deck. And for the G-Zone...
Here's why stands are broken.
Oh, yes. The most powerful stride in this deck by
the
far.
King. The man.
Dragobus.
The dragon.
Luard. This card's insane. So, Soul Blast 1 and Persona Flip and retire a rear guard. You search your deck for 2 grade 1s and call them, and if they both have Ritual, you retire an opponent's rear guard. So, it's basically a +2. You can get also more pluses by calling the Swordbreaker clone and things of that sort. This just sets up your field really nicely, and it's really that effect's really strong in its own right. But the real kicker is his GB3 Ritual Cross. All of your rear guards get plus 10k for every 4 grade 1s in your drop zone, which is insane. It's really easy to get the plus 20k.
I like plus 20k in my front row.
Oh yes, it's really strong when you consider stands and Dagda giving you multi attacks. This card just does everything for the deck. You're pretty much trying all 4 of these every game. Sometimes you likely use flip for the first one, and if your field's already set up, you don't need to use the act skill, so you can stride and then you get 3 uses out of them in a game.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you're playing against a control deck that wiped your board, you might have to do it again, but you'll also probably kill them if you do that. So. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
This is kind of like the most strident thing in the deck by a long
It's like,
slide.
it didn't really fix any of the problems with Luard, like specifically the problems, but it made like everything else that much better.
Oh yes, this is the only relevant thing they got in the new set, but there's still all the old cards really still have some merit. Drag Strider is still a relatively strong card. It's only at 1 now, but you don't really go for game as much with this because you're usually just killing them on this. But in the case that they survive through 2 of these, this can be insta-give on people when you know they don't have when they don't have a heal because they can't PG it. And the amount of hand size you can get in this deck is pretty ridiculous. So sometimes you can just cheese people out of the game with that card. In the same vein,
yeah, I mean, a G guard only goes so far. They have the King of Cheese right here.
Oh yes. Phantom Blast Diablo. He's mostly for the Link Joker matchup. One thing that he does really nicely is you don't have to retire rear guards to get the 10k and a crit. So if your opponent, if you have like that foresight that you know your opponent doesn't have a PG, you can force out some guard on your opponent if they're playing Link Joker. But if you have enough space, and which also comes into play with this stand trigger right here, giving you more. Being 2 retires in 1 makes where you only need 2 slots to use this skill, and sometimes it might actually happen where the Chaos player doesn't have enough rear guards, especially when you have the potential to retire 1 off the stride skill. So they would have to have 3 rear guards to be safe from this card, and even then, you still force a lot of advantage out of them. And it's not like this deck can get a lot of hand advantage. So it's not really a big deal. if you neg out too much doing this card. As long as you push your opponent, that's kind of what's really important. In the same vein, you do the same thing with Spectral in the Link Joker matchup. You just have to set. This is even better because you only need one rearguard circle because you can use this Persona Flip cost to retire the one in the circle that you have, and then call the stand trigger, and that counts as 2 for whenever he attacks. Just, hope
so
you don't get hit by the Cosmo Reach G-Guard.
Yeah, I mean, even with just one circle, you can still kind of bit like a strong turn.
You still sometimes do this as a first stride, because this can give you more hand advantage than Drag Abyss, especially if you have the nut with multiple Abyssal Owls. There's just you definitely go for this if you have enough cards to make it worth it.
Yeah, if it's like a really bad start, you would just need to turbo into some hand.
Yeah, because especially if you want to have rearguards, if you even look at it like in a pure card comedy stance, if you tire like at least like 2 Belial Owls, you drew one, you call one, you didn't have any good rearguards to attack with, but you do that, and let's say you even hit the cards off of his effect, you could kill 2 rearguards and draw 4 cards. That's definitely going to get you there at least, and have a really good start. So when you stride into this, you even have more usage out of this card because you didn't have to use it for your first stride, which is really nice. And the final unit in your G zone is Sabreeze. It's Sabreeze. You don't really go into it too often. It's flip fodder for Spectral anyway. But it's always good to have it in your G zone just in case, especially in this deck where really all you're striding is this. So all this is really just as personal as you want. You can even play Agama if you want to cheese people. Yeah. I don't know. Or Ultima. This could easily be Ultima too. You actually do stride Ultima in this deck if you have it because it's it can be even stronger than this sometimes.
Yeah.
But this is just it's just Sabreeze. You play it because you can. And the G guards, the most important G guard in the deck probably is this. Your skill is you look at when you G guard with it, you look at the top 5 of your deck and call the grade 1s among the guard, put the rest of the bottom of the deck. So one thing that's really good about it is it turbos into Ritual, which is really important. If you notice, a lot of the cards in the main deck that aren't GB restricted put grade 1s on the drop zone, which is really important because we don't play stride fighters in this deck, and you only have 6 grade 3s, so you want to be getting that free stride skill at the very least. At most, you want to be playing 1 counterblast for it, and even then, that's fine. As long as you're getting that free stride, you're good. And if you go first, G-Guard into this, there's absolutely no way you're not going to have 4 grade 1s at that point. So it's really just good to have, and that's really the biggest extent of what you use it. And 2 cards that kind of work in the same vein, Plot Maker and Dark Veil. Standard 36 shield. We all know what this does. But this card is also really strong. It does have a cost though, which is Soul Blast 1, which kind of sucks. But you do get a lot more guard potential because it gets 5k for every 2 grade 1s in your drop zone. So late game,
that's like easy 15, definitely.
Yeah, definitely 15, and definitely pushing even higher numbers like 20 or even 25 sometimes. When you get to the late game, this is just really good to strong. This could easily block a Vanguard by itself if we're not talking about really absurd numbers.
Like Gallop.
Guard with 2 of them.
Yeah, get him.
Fucking right. But yeah, they're pretty much in the same vein. This is free, which is usually why you'll be using it more, but this can potentially guard for a lot more, and you'll definitely need it from time to time, so it's definitely no shame in having it. This is definitely the best spread of G-Guards you could have. There's really not many other G-Guards that are even good, honestly. Yeah. The Super G-Guard isn't worth it.
Like, yeah, Shadows are kind of limited in their rate of good G-Guards. They've been getting better lately, though.
Fortunately, they definitely got some good ones.
Yeah, it just took them a hot minute.
Yep. But yeah, that's the deck. You just to make a quick note, you really want to have the mentality of turboing into Ritual in this deck because you're never gonna play. This deck's never gonna go over very well if you're just playing a normal game of Vanguard. You want to be able to grade 2 game also because you have card advantage with this card and generally more grade 2s. So it's definitely never bad to grade 2 game your opponent. But setting up for the Ritual for the free stride is really important. And really if you stride on top of this and you get all the advantage you get out of the first stride, you're in a very good position to win the game, and once you get to your second stride, you almost always demolish your opponent.
Yeah, like if you just like secure yourself and set yourself up right, you can kind of like snowball the game out really easily.
Yeah,
It's
hardly
really,
any
like, how
decks
you really
get
wanna
this
do.
level of card advantage that this deck can achieve. But yeah, that's the deck.
Yeah, GBT14 really like souped up this deck, like made it just this weird, like just turbo, super fast, super aggressive deck that you can really do like a lot of new things with that you couldn't do before. Like I said, they really like fix their problem. Like they still struggle against control, still struggle against certain matchups and stuff. But for the most part, as far as like what they were good at doing before, it definitely does that, but a lot better now. Kind of just up to scaled it with like the power creep of the couple of recent G sets.
Definitely, this deck's definitely a lot more fun to play than it was in its BT12
Yeah,
iteration.
I mean like as Link Joker kind of like fades in and out, like this deck really just gets better and better. That's really what keeps it down, honestly. Like otherwise, this deck can pretty much handle most things if you just play it correctly.
Very much so.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thanks guys for watching. Hope y'all enjoy.